Good morning. Today, on our Never Home Facebook group that we just started, I met Tanya Lyons. At first, I said, "Oh, it's Tanya, right?" And she goes, "No, in Canada, we say Tanya, like Tanya Tucker." So she was contextualizing for me, us Americans. So Tanya Lyons wrote a 10-week devotional, re-entry devotional called When Seasons Change. And I thought we would spend a few minutes this morning giving you a chance to share what the Lord has really done through that devotional and why you wrote it and where you see it being hopefully helpful to other people. So tell us who you are.
Okay, great. So yeah, I'm Tanya Lyons. I'm a Canadian, and I've served in Youth with a Mission for over 25 years now. So I've been a lot of places and seen a lot of stuff. And I think in my early years in ministry, I did notice that people would have these really life-changing experiences, usually in short-term teams, because that's what I was involved with, or sort of 6-month to a year projects. They'd have these really amazing life-changing experiences. And then they'd go home and a year later you'd hear from them and they had just crashed and burned, or they were totally confused. Maybe they even just, faith was no longer important to them, or they were struggling in ways that I thought these people would never struggle. And so that was a shock to me, but I didn't really know what to do about it, or if there was anything to do. And then I had an experience myself where I went through a really challenging re-entry experience where I'd been in ministry for over 10 years and living in Asia, and ended up coming home unexpectedly, or going back to Canada unexpectedly, and didn't know if I would ever return to the field or ministry, and had such a hard time. And I think what made it so hard was that I expected that I should know better, right? Because I'm the full-time worker. I'm the one whose job is to go into new places, meet people, make friends, build connections, be the change, all that. And I thought, why is this so hard for me? And it was so hard. And I felt so alone and confused, and everything about my value, my identity was just sort of like, I was questioning it again. I didn't question my faith to that degree, so I'm grateful for that, but I was shocked actually at how hard it was to go through that. And I realized that every transition is hard, but re-entry transition is, I think, particularly hard. So I ended up going back to ministry, which was really great. And then my team and we ended up writing a devotional. At that point, it was 100 days, a devotional for 100 days on Facebook. It was for people who'd done short-term work and then were going back home. Okay. And there was some really good momentum with that, but also thought I would like something that I could give to people that they could take away with them, that wasn't, just kind of word of mouth spreading, but something that could be more accessible. So I wrote a book for short-term people who've done short-term ministry or missions. And then people were saying, do you have anything for people who are a bit older, a little bit more experienced, people who've been in the field or in ministry for a long time? And that's how I ended up writing this book. So I don't remember what your question was anymore, but that's the big picture.
Yeah. And so it's 10 weeks, right? It kind of goes through, it's day by day by day for 10 weeks. And is this here's some practical guides to reentry, or is this dealing with kind of the core spiritual sense of transition?
Yeah, great question. So this book is not explaining to you what reentry is. So it's not a manual. It's not a description and giving you phases and things like that. It is, like you said, it's more of a companion, saying, hey, if you're going through transition and reentry and you need to be reminded that you're not alone, or if you need to be reminded that what you're experiencing is normal, and if you want to be reminded, need to be reminded that God is with you, and the same God who was with you when you were on the field doing these amazing things is with you when you're stuck in your living room, or you're trying to get a job, or you're dealing with all the pain of grief and loss and so on. So yeah, it's not about reentry, but it is for people who are in that reentry or transition.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because I don't think I've seen a lot of books like that. It kind of feels like they're one or the other. They're devotional books, but maybe not thinking about the layer of transition or reentry, or there's the practical side of reentry, which both are important. And I think you've kind of mashed the two together, which I really like and appreciate. And it's really Jesus centric, which I appreciated. As I was looking through some of the days, I mean, even this morning, you're looking at Jesus being consumed with the needs of people, but then recognizing, okay, now I need to pull away. And it didn't mean that he didn't serve people when it was inconvenient, but it did mean that he knew when to pull away. So you're weaving in and out of who Jesus was, his story and his interaction with people, while at the same time kind of helping us understand where our identity lies in this place where we don't feel like we fit. You had a quote at the very beginning that I really appreciate, and this is what you said. Years ago, when you were preparing to leave, people were enthusiastic about your plans, but there's far less fanfare when you come back. So how do you feel like that dynamic? Because I think it's true for most people, except for maybe the parents that say, well, you're finally done sowing your wild oats. Other than that, people, there's a lot less fanfare. So how do you think that dynamic impacts our transition and our need to really cling to who Jesus is in the midst of it?
Wow, that's such a great question. So many layers there. I think just to say that people who've gone through the experience of reentry, really, people who haven't gone through, maybe I'll say it this way, people who haven't gone through reentry don't really, I think, fully appreciate the challenges and maybe the emotional demands of reentry and all the things that are going on in your brain at the same time. And so I think just having somebody who's experienced reentry, sort of, my hope is kind of come alongside and be like, hey, I know this is hard, and it's okay that it's hard, and Jesus is with you, and you can keep looking to him. He's the same Jesus. He's the same provider, encourager, support, comforter, healer. He's the same, and it might look different. So don't miss out on him because it looks so different than what you're used to. And I'm not expecting, and he's not expecting, and nobody who's been there is expecting that you're going to get through all of the challenges of reentry in a week or a month or a year or a few years. So to me, this is why I wanted to write a devotional and focusing on Jesus. So we go through the Gospel of Mark. We're just looking at the way he lived, the way he interacted with his friends or his enemies or his family or his hometown or his, so much in the life of Jesus is relatable because he lived as a human and he's our example. So to me, wanting to write the book, it really is my way of coming alongside anyone who's going through transition and saying, it's okay that it's hard and you're doing awesome and you can do this. I remember living overseas the first time that I got off the bus in the right place. It was like party time. Or when you go to a restaurant overseas, especially in a different language, and you actually order the food that you want and the actual food you want arrives at your table, it's party time. But nobody does that when I'm at home. Back here, people expect you to know how to do everything, but I'm cheering you on. I'm like, that's so amazing. You figured out how to get a telephone. Well done. Good job. You figured out how you're supposed to stand in line at so-and-so shop or whatever, So I think just the reminder that he's with us. He's the same. We just have to maybe look a little bit differently to find him. And just that fellowship, I think, of you're not the only one who's going through this. There's somebody who understands. Maybe they live really far from you, but hopefully as people are reading, they can hear my voice saying, I don't understand everything, but I've been there and I'm cheering you on.
Yeah. And that's huge to know that we have other people in our corner that are telling us, keep going, you can do this, I want to end with one other quote that you gave that was really powerful, I know, to me. And you said, I can mistake my value and identity for my productivity, then feel confused and insecure when my work and ministry change. And I feel like that's a summary of what we all go through. And it can be so jarring and yet so exciting and so emotional and so beautiful all simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I appreciate those words that it shows me that, yes, like you do get it, and you are going to take us through, it's 10 weeks, which I think is proof enough that we don't just read this, 7-day devotional and go, well, like, figure that out, and so I think you're right. Like, we revisit it. Okay, this is for today. This is who Jesus is in today.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Right. Tanya, thank you so much. We could talk and talk and talk about some of the really beautiful things that you put in this book. And so, but I want to leave people with, it's Tanya Lyons. I will put all of this information. Yeah, there's the book. She got her first, you held the actual paper copy, what, today?
Last week, but yeah, not long ago.
Yeah, so that's fun. So there it is. So it's called When Seasons Change. I'll put all the information down in the comment section, direct link to Amazon, and you can get it there. And I appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this today. Thanks so much.